Rosie the Reveler.
Have governments ever faked incidents or incited incidents in order to get them into wars?
Can anything stop the Rosie O'Donnell train wreck?
I have to be honest with you. Every time I consider talking about Rosie O'Donnell on this show, I'm really torn. I have arguments in my head all the time. Part of me thinks it's a good idea because I can expose the psychopathic conspiratorial nut job that she's turned into. But the other half says, don't give her more publicity. That's what she wants. Today, evil Glen wins. Honestly, blood shoots out of my eyes when I hear her speak, and at least on what she's been saying lately. Here you have a woman who's reportedly looking for a $40 million a year contract. Conway, is that right? $40 million a year?
Yes, Glenn, just like you.
I'd be lucky to get $40 a year. She wants to do this when her View contract is up in June, yet all she's done on the show is, well, granted, driven the ratings up, but she's done it by spouting the radical left-wing hate and honestly ridiculous conspiracy theories. I want you to watch these clips, and remember, this is daytime, mainstream network television. Does America really identify with this?
I do believe that it defies physics for the World Trade Center Tower 7, Building 7, which collapsed in on itself. It is impossible for a building to fall the way it fell without explosives being involved. Radical Christianity is just as threatening as radical Islam. In a country like America, they finally found the guy. It's not that guy Bin Laden. It's this guy they've had since '93. And look at, this is the picture they release of him. Doesn't he look healthy? In America, we are fed propaganda. And if you want to know what's happening in the world, go outside of the U.S. media, because it's owned by 4 corporations. One of them is this one.
Adam Buckman, TV columnist with the New York Post. Adam.
Yes, sir.
$40 million a year for...
That was just to be on The View, Glenn?
That's what I got. $40 million a year. Is that, do you have something different? Because I'm fighting an argument.
Well, actually, that's not out of the question if she was going to go off and do her own talk show. That is kind of what they get paid to do their solo talk shows on afternoon TV. That's the kind of gig you have to get.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Have you read her blog? She writes like a 12-year-old.
Well, some of it's like a 12-year-old. Some of it is there's a poem there about a squirrel. And there's also some stuff that we're going to probably be talking about, her ideas that one of the World Trade Center buildings, and not the Twin Towers, but another lower building, had collapsed because the government imploded it on 9/11.
She's not only talking about how somehow or another we got a bunch of people to go wire World Trade Center number 7 in one day, wire it to implode it, bring it down, keep everybody quiet about it, so there's some giant conspiracy, but we apparently did it just to cover the tracks for Enron.
Well, we used to call people like this crackpots, and we used to dismiss their opinions, but today it seems like crackpots have a lot of credence and a lot more influence than they used to. And she's ascribing to the government a level of genius in covering up and in conspiring to implode buildings, to destroy records about the Enron case and other cases that she would not ascribe to the administration or the government in any other area. In any other area, there are morons, and George Bush is the world's biggest idiot.
But somehow or another, we can scuba dive underneath the water in the middle of a hurricane.
They suddenly become the smartest people in the world when it comes to blowing up 7 World Trade Center.
So why are we consuming it? You know what scares me more than Rosie, because look, I'm a capitalist. I want to have that opinion. Great, she is doing her job. She's driving the ratings up. What scares me more is the audience. You watch them and they applaud like little zombies.
Well, it's true, and I think that the kind of audience that's watching daytime TV, and I really, it's terrible to paint millions of people with the same brush, but there is a sort of a gullibility factor in this country, or indeed probably anywhere. You hear a celebrity on television talk about something. Look, people are going to watch me talk about this and think that I know what I'm talking about. I mean, hopefully I do, but when people
are on my show, so
when people are on TV and when they're famous, it gives them some kind of license to spout off about things they don't really know about, and it sort of enables the viewers, listeners, the audience to accept what they say as true without really examining it.
How does Barbara Walters not destroy her own credibility? I mean, well, first of all, let me ask you, do you think Rosie O'Donnell survives a long period of time of just being a conspiracy nut?
It's hard to predict. I mean, as your montage just showed, she does raise some of these issues actually on The View. They're not only restricted to her blog, and if they're restricted to her blog, I suppose ABC could say, well, that's Rosie doing her thing in private on her own blog. I think it remains to be seen. I mean, as long as the ratings are up, attention is being paid to The View in a way that had not been paid in a long time, and the ratings are up, that Rosie will continue to have this job. But it's a very fine line. There could come this point where she does it too much or says something that's offensive even to her bosses at ABC, and they say, wait a minute, sponsors are going to start getting driven away. And when that happens, that's kind of the tipping point where Rosie becomes a detriment to The View instead of an advantage for the show.
Adam, quickly, do you think that Barbara Walters ever sits on the set and thinks, oh, dear God, what have I done?
I think she does, and they'll never admit it, but I think she must be backstage shaking her head sometimes. On the other hand, she's a businesswoman. It's her production. It's produced out of her own production company. She knows the ratings are up, and she knows how to survive in TV is to keep the ratings up. And so I think while she worries about it, she's also glad to see what's happened to the show.
Adam, thanks. We'll be back in just a minute.